Hi folks, Kevin here. Well, it's May 16th, 2018. I'm outside and I thought I'd do an episode of Ask Me Anything. And so I'm staying here and I'll keep looking over. I'm waiting for the fox to come back. We had the fox visit this morning. Didn't do any damage, but really did try. And Jess, Canada goose, which are great watch animals that really keep an eye out for the rest of the animals on the property. It's really beneficial listening to the wildlife, and they're going to let you know. So when things get quiet or a goose starts honking or they start honking together, it's a time to take a look around and see what's going on. Or the crows, they're another sentinel as well. So I'm going to start off by responding to some of the comments that were asked in the last several weeks. And the first one was by Craig Gamble. What about parasites? Do you use cat litter compost in your vegetable garden? That scares me, the parasites. Composting doesn't get hot enough to kill them, so sterilizing it is nearly impossible. So the goal in composting is never to sterilize. Sterilize means killing all of the microorganisms. So no, we don't want to do that. And I'll post a link in the upper right hand corner to videos that I've created in the past addressing this issue, and to videos on the composting series as well, where I've gone over the appropriate temperatures, the duration of maintaining those temperatures to kill the pathogens. We want to kill the pathogens, not sterilize the compost material. So it's appropriate aerobic composting techniques that need to be used. Toxoplasma gondii is one of those common ones that are described by medical practitioners that are concerned about one of the definitive hosts, the cat, and them, and that therefore people would be worried about composting cat feces. There's a huge feral cat population all over the world. They defecate in all the farmers' fields, in most people's gardens, play in sandboxes. It's just a big issue. So probably the most beneficial way to be environmentally conscious, to provide good nutrient resources, to decrease the chances of pathogens creating disease issues, is appropriate aerobic composting techniques. And so I'll just leave it at that for right now. If there's more comments and questions about that, I can go into detail on all of the issues with it. I mean, there's issues with prions or prions, however you want to pronounce it, mad cow disease, and that being in the nervous tissue and all, but I won't go down that whole path. And in order to kill those, you can melt lead before you can kill those microorganisms. And that's more of a concern this day and age than cat feces, composting it. So human feces, animal feces can be composted appropriately. If composted appropriately, is safe to use in your gardens. It's actually recommended to use in your gardens. I'm going to skip over David M's comment. Does anyone have an opinion about whether to fill swales with wood chips or not? I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner responding with my response that I made. I think it was this past week that I made a video about that, or at least address that issue. Tim's Homestead commented, sorry about the bees, Kevin. It was cold spring here in Ohio also, but you guys had it much worse. It seems to me from all the videos that I have watched is that it is hard to keep bees alive. And yes, it sure is. And I do fancy myself to be a bee steward as opposed to a beekeeper, where I don't really want to do all the things that we're known for as humans, to either enhance our ability to do pollination as a business, or sell honey or wax or any of the other things. Personally, ethically for me, I wanted to provide an environment similar to the cutouts that we do when we're removing bees that have taken up residence in homes and all. But thank you so much for your kind words, Tim. I really appreciate it. I don't know what the future holds for us as far as bee stewardship and all. I may go in and take some, either catch some swarms or go out and do some more cutouts. I'm really concerned. There just haven't been the bees, and I'm talking about the mason bees, all of the pollinators. Many of the trees in the East Coast right now are in bloom, and it's going to create an issue with especially fruit production, apple production this year as well. So we'll see what happens. But thanks again, Tim. I appreciate your comments. LB commented, I'm not sure why you considered this a failure. Hugelkultur beds, by their very nature, break down over time, and they're intended to be built up each year by adding more biomass to the top and you know, feeding more organic material. And certainly Sepp Holzer, one of the key people in the, at least in modern history, that have promoted hugelkultur, and that's taking earth and covering logs, covering woody resources, and we take it to a different level here and use all carbonaceous materials. So, and we're in a unique place here. Well, not a unique place, but we're in our circumstances really require us to build lots of soil as much as we can over time, because the soil has been depleted here and it's all gravel. Lots of gravel mining going on around here. So I understand where you're coming from with that comment. And this was with respect to the we had keyhole gardens that were stone lined and natural stone lined, and I had put logs and wood chips in there, and then put compost on top of it, and the material broke down over time. But when you have perennials like strawberries, and these were strawberry beds, by putting wood chips on top of it and all, you get above the crown of the strawberries, and therefore you create a higher moisture content at an area, and that damages the strawberries. But I think it's always good to be amending the soil, or at least keeping, if you're having garden beds that you aren't having green manure or cover crops continually covering the soil, there's going to be soil loss. There's going to be carbon leaching into the atmosphere. So certainly by mulching it every year, I think, is a great way of doing things. However, in some circumstances, and what I'm trying to strive for is to try and develop systems where the man hours or people hour input in the future is much less as time goes on. If you watch the videos, I've got so many things going on simultaneously around here that it's impossible for me to accomplish all the tasks. So one of my goals is to continually strive to improve systems where I may not be putting, having to do mulching and all, and selecting the appropriate plants that allow me to mulch around the base of those plants. And you'll be seeing some of that in the future permanent raised beds, keyhole garden systems that are herb gardens, that are a modified system coming up. But thank you for the comment. David M. commented again, good explanation, very comprehensive with many points to consider. Thank you. Oh, that was with the wood chips in swale systems and all. So David was happy with the thoughts about it. And someone else commented on that as well. And I don't have this in this little tablet right here, but really good information. So I really encourage the community to work together with this. I'm sorry that I'm so tardy in responding to the comments and questions. I'm just busy. Sorry about that. Greg Heel commented on the walk in the food forest, and that's the one where I had Timmy on my shoulder, and I was first using this camera, the Canon 80D, on a monopod, going through the food forest and all, and I was concerned about how shaky it is. It still looks fairly shaky to me. I'm always striving to improve my videos as time goes on, but I really appreciate your comment as well, Greg. It's very helpful. Jungle Tearaway commented, thank you, and that was on the food forest as well. Tim's Homestead commented again. This was on the food forest one. Good video, love to watch how everything progresses. I just bought a GoPro camera but have not had a chance to use it yet. Waiting for a nice sunny day with not too much wind. Yes, and I'll respond to that, make another comment about that in just a moment. LB commented, your property is beautiful. You've obviously put a lot of work into it. I'd love to see some of your wildlife you mentioned if you're able to film it. Found your channel while searching for the Keyhole Gardens. So I do hope, and I will, I'm doing some audio recording in different spots on the property. Like I've done some nearby the bird feeders, which are over there. I've got a recording going on by one of the ponds out back right now. Just trying to learn learn about all the diversity that's there. And with the camera, I've got a good telephoto lens now. And I just adapted this microphone so I can use it with a telephoto lens. So I may be able to record some video and get the bird songs, or get the different forms of communication between some of the amphibians as well. So there'll be more to come about that topic as my zoology old degree from years ago is going to be utilized more. David M. commented, oh wait, oh sorry, I passed over one. Shrive, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Shrive commented, thanks for the video, Kevin. I found it very well explained that helped me greatly understand the scale of permanence developed by yeomans. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Shrive. I appreciate that. That's on the Keyline Design and Permaculture. I'll put a link up there in the right-hand corner. If it gets to be too many, it'll be in the description below. David commented again, nice drawing. It would be interesting to see how the soil settles with the decomposition with the hugelkultur pits over the years. And that's something I do want to follow. I've been following our hugelkultur systems. Now he was referring to the hugelkultur pits. I'll try and put a link up to that and in the description below. How we took all the trees and the root balls and buried them and then put the swale systems in on top. Well, it took me 3 years to plug all the holes as the sinkholes started to develop over time. But we'll see what happens over time. I just don't know. My life is an experiment, and we'll just have to see how things develop over time. However, I've had lots of experience with the various hugelkultur systems around, and I've taken some measurements throughout the time and see just how much compression, compaction, consolidation, however you want to look at it, of all the woody mass over time has been affected, both in the ones that are subterranean, started with the logs below ground, and as well as the ones that are started above ground. So I've got quite a few different systems here, and it's amazing how much the top of the soil level drops. At first I thought it'd be about 30%. I think it's closer to 75% that we lose that volume over time. But we'll see. Let's see. David also commented, Kevin, it's not getting how hot BC, because you are too far north. Oh, just kidding. You've likely figured out why your piles aren't getting hot by now. Oh, that was with respect to a problem I had last year with one of the composting systems that had a lot of dirt in it, and so we did other composting system, and the system worked out really well. No weed seeds in that. We've been growing in it since that time, so it's worked out great. Sorry that was an abbreviated discussion there for everyone to get. Tim's Homestead commented, I just bought a GoPro camera just like the one you have last week. What settings do you prefer? Have not had a chance to use mine yet, waiting for a day with very little wind. Good. I'm going to go into that in just a second. Is there anything else? Good. And David M. also commented, looks like the chest mount for the GoPro camera worked out pretty well. So I'm going to stop there. I think I've got everyone's comments and questions addressed. And let me see, can I bring the camera back a little? Whoops. Okay, you can see me and you can see the camera now. So right now I have the chest mount GoPro apparatus, and I'll put a link down below to like this one that I bought. I bought it as a kit system, and I do like this kit system, and it's one of those ones that that I use to shoot the images in Bumblebee. And I'll be using this in Optimus Prime. That's the red and white tractor with the front end loader as well in the future. I actually like this. This system seems to work well. There's in the GoPro Hero 5, there's not the image stabilization that there is developed in the GoPro Hero 6, the newest one out there. And I'll have some comments about the GoPro here in just a second, but this system I think is the best system for working, for stabilizing it. This is another system that I bought, and basically this is the one that I wasn't happy with. So this is one you put it over your shoulder and it mounts up here. And the thing that I didn't like about this, I shot my first videos that I didn't post with this, and I ended up having to put up an extra extension on here, so I could try and angle this so it doesn't do a selfie. I think when they designed this, they wanted people who are doing some activity, let's say cross-country skiing or downhill skiing, so that you can see a little bit of their side profile of their face at the same time that they're doing things. So you're just seeing a large bit of my face, if you can imagine that, coming from this perspective of my shoulder, and you're seeing some of the information before you. And my goal was to try and make it a first-person perspective, not seeing me, but seeing what I'm looking at, what my hands are doing, and seeing the perspective that I have. And I use a program called Camtasia 8, which helps me to do some zooming in some of the videos that you see. So that's a tool, a post-processing technique that I use, and that's the only post-processing technique that I use. One more thing I want to show you is I use a cheap tripod. So this is my cheap tripod, aluminum one of those Amazon basic ones. I bought this GoPro, I can't remember what they call it, the grip. I don't see the name on it, but it's like a grip, and you mount your GoPro on the top of this, and this is really good for mounting on different systems. It works fantastic for hooking onto a tripod and all, or any number of things, a fence or whatever. The other thing that I do is I took the little door off of the side of the GoPro, and because I'm shooting for such long periods of time, I use one of these cheap battery packs that you can get on Amazon for like 20 bucks. You charge it overnight, and then you can put it on here, and if I want to do some astrophotography, or I want to do some images of me just setting the camera up and moving it around into different places and setting the GoPro up to do some time-lapse images, which if you've watched some of my videos from the past when I'm working in the gardens and all, that's what I've done. So that's how I've gotten all the images that I've done so far. So Tim, you asked what settings do I use on the camera. So I think it's important for me to first say I really don't use the GoPro for anything other than shooting video, either time-lapse video or for shooting prolonged video that I'm going to speed up in processing or potentially try to give you first-person perspective. I don't do what I'm doing right now, is talking to you through a camera, because the audio quality is so poor. The camera really, you know, the GoPro people. I can't remember his name. The young man who started with GoPro, great marketer. You know, his story is fantastic. A genius at marketing and tenacious. I think the GoPro is overpriced. I think that that they've created an amazing niche, that you know, those extreme sports folks and all, and they do great work. And there's lots of audio dubbing with those great video shots. It does good slow-mo. It's good for B-roll. It's really good in many ways. But as a selfie video vlogging tool, I don't think it's so great. It's really susceptible to all the wind sounds, and if you put the filter on it or do the settings for higher wind, it almost sounds like you've got it inside a jar and there's water running on the jar. But I think that the camera is pretty decent for such a tiny camera that you can put it underwater. When I bought this camera, I bought it in the GoPro Karma, which is their drone that they started. They no longer manufacture that. They were basically swamped by DJI. But I really like that drone. But with that kit, the gimbal that you can pop this GoPro Hero 5 on is great. And I think it's fantastic. It does a very good job of stabilization. Now the Hero 6, which is another $100 more than the Hero 5 at initial launch, you know, it just wasn't a good investment for me. And I really, most of the videos that I've shot have been on this Nexus 6P, and I use this with a DJI Osmo, and I'm not a DJI fan. I think their customer service is deplorable. Their technical repair service has been terrible. I had nothing but nightmares. They didn't honor their agreements with me. But they do make some darn good products, and one of which is the original DJI Osmo, and hooking this camera on this phone onto that Osmo was fantastic. And now, and the screen broke on this, the battery went out on it, and I repaired it twice. So it works fantastic now, and I've just finished repairing the Galaxy Nexus and the Moto X. Those were two other camera series, so they're older cameras. I have the original Droid as well. The Galaxy Nexus and the Moto X, I put new batteries in those systems and all, and they shoot really good video. I think good enough for YouTube, and the audio is better than what I get with the GoPro. So I'm always striving for that audio. One of the things that will turn me off to a video is how terrible the audio is. The second thing, if it's really shaky, and the third thing, if it's just boring, like my videos are. So I've got the Pixel 2, which I never would have purchased if I realized I was going to go through it and replace the screen and replace the backboard for the motherboard and all in this. It was I bought this for insurance because I didn't want to go too long without a phone. But I think I believe that the smartphone technology has come to such a place with shooting videos and shooting photos now that it's crushing the consumer camera market. And so the Sony, Nikon, Canon, all of these, you know, Pentax, all of these different photo and video manufacturers really have got to step up their game to meet the needs of the people, because everyone has the opportunity to create decent videos now, even if it's just for their own family, or they want to post them on Vimeo or YouTube or put it on Instagram, those sorts of things. So audio is so important to me, so that's why I don't use the GoPro that much. So I'm sorry this is so long-winded. So what do I use the GoPro for? Well, as you've seen in my videos, I'll set up the camera as I showed on the tripod And even if it's real windy, I'll use my diving belts with lead weights to hold the system down. And you'll see sometimes that the camera shakes some because that GoPro grip has a little bit of instability in high winds. But I can go through and shoot and shoot and shoot, and then I've just got to go through and cut things out and speed things up and all. The other thing I use the settings, I use the camera for is nighttime photography, shooting the stars or doing a time lapse of it, of the sky. So for the nighttime photos, the time lapse, I'm almost always using the what's called the not video time lapse, but photo time lapse. And that does a really good job, but you got to bring it into the GoPro Studio. Another thing that I don't like about the GoPro is the micro SD card. It's so hard for me to get that bugger in and out as well. I like using the battery backup, as I showed. That works very well. And when I plug the camera itself into the USB, so I don't have to take the micro SD card out, it's very, very slow transferring the data. So there's some things that I just don't like about the GoPro, so I don't use it as much, and that's why I've invested more in other cameras and all. But the GoPro, as far as weather and all, that camera has been knocked down so many times and rolled. I've watched it when the wind's kicked up. That GoPro grip is attached to the tripod, and I've watched it tumble across the yard, watch the thing go, especially when the weights fall off it and all. So it's a durable little camera. My Hero 3 Black still works. So sorry I wasn't able to offer more insight as to what to do, but use YouTube and Google it. And do what you can with the audio. I know some people make some fairly decent audio changes by going into the settings to make the audio a bit better. But I really wanted to step it up, and that's why I bought a decent microphone with a windscreen on it for this camera as well. And that's what I'm going to be using for shooting a lot of the wildlife around here, because it's frequently windy here, especially when the sun comes out and we start getting some of those convection currents as well. So I really appreciate everyone's comments and questions, and I'm really thankful for everyone's involvement and subscribing to the channel as well. And I don't know how to shorten these videos more. I wish I had more time to edit and cut all these little pauses that I have out. So anyways, I really appreciate your sticking with me and taking this journey in my life with Mindful Living Sanctuary. I'm enjoying it. I hope you're getting some entertainment and some education. Be informed, be educated, and hopefully be inspired. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.